My name is David Sachs, and I have the extreme honor of being able to just share some words about the Tikkun HaKlali and Rabbi Nachman of Breslov. And my plan is to just speak from my heart, and it says words that leave the heart, enter the heart. So hopefully, hopefully that will happen. So one of the things that I'm most struck by, and I was actually trying to find this in a book before I came on so I could give you the exact information, but I remember reading this pretty clearly, so I trust that it's accurate, that Rabbi Nachman desired to have these 10 Psalms printed, and that the initial printing, there was some error made. Either they were out of order or someone had substituted a different Psalm. And he couldn't believe it because, here he was bringing this incredible tikkun, this incredible fixing into the world, and went through all sorts of incredible effort to disseminate this information. And then this happens. And it's very emblematic of our lives in this world, which is that we try to do the right thing and we experience opposition. And speaking as someone who's American born and sort of grown up in this society, there's a lot that the Torah and Rabbi Nachman teaches about this, because I think that a lot of us feel like, especially those of us who like myself, have discovered a Torah way of life a little bit later in life. I was 24 years old when I started keeping Shabbos. I won't go through my whole story, but that's when it really kind of kicked in, and I decided that this is the path that I wanted to go down. But a lot of people, I think that when they arrive at Torah, they've arrived at the magic bullet, so to speak, and it's true and it's not true, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. It's true in that it is the truth, and it is the proper way, and that ultimately, in the next world, it will just reveal itself to be the truth, and there will be tremendous reward. The sages teach that we actually don't receive reward in this world for our mitzvot, for our good deeds. There's some exceptions to that, by the way. And one of the explanations for that is because the reward is so enormous and so great. The reward for one mitzvah literally cannot fit into this world. Like, imagine an elephant trying to fit into a shot glass. Like, it's not happening. It won't work. So when you get to this dimension beyond, physical boundaries, that's really where we can see the results of all the things that we're doing. So that's number one. But when getting back to this idea so what do I mean that the Torah, the mitzvot are not a magic bullet, are not a magic bullet? Well, what I mean by that is that in this world we face obstacles and we face opposition. And what Rabbi Nachman of Breslov teaches, and this is, for me personally, this was a life-changing teaching, and a life-saving teaching. And so I'm offering it because there's a lot of encouragement in this idea. And I heard it first said by Reb Shlomo Carlebach, and in the name of Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, and this is how he said it: that when a person sets out to really genuinely try to do more, meaning to say that they want to attach themselves to God, they want to attach themselves to truth, they want to connect with the depths of their own soul and kind of bring that light that's inside of them out into the world. So do you know what they say in heaven when a person resolves this, feels this way? They say, let's see if the person is serious. And then they give the person a test. Now that, again, from an American born and raised person, is, I think, extremely counterintuitive, because I think most of us expect that if we want to go to temple, right, or keep a Shabbos, that they should throw a parade for us. For goodness sakes, like, come on, make a big deal over the fact that I actually want to do this good thing about being more Jewish. And yet we hear the opposite. We hear that there's a sense that, oh, really, you want to connect more deeply? Let's see. And so we get this idea that tests are and obstacles are a little bit different from what we may have thought at the outset. A lot of times an obstacle might discourage a person. And you might think, well, you know something, if that's the way you're going to react, I'm not interested. But if a person really is interested, then that first obstacle will only make them want to try harder and connect in a deeper, purer way. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov says elsewhere that imagine a general leading an army and they're trying to do this siege on this city, and they're able to climb over walls and get through, like, all sorts of obstacles, and soldiers fighting them, all the rest. And then they get to the door of the commander of the other side, and across the door there is a thin spider web, like just one strand of a spider web. And they've done all of this fighting, all of these battles to get to this place. And then they see this thin strand of spider web and they go, let's get out of here. Right? So that's absurd. Again, this is Rabbi Nachman's example. That's absurd that after everything that you've gone through, that you're going to allow yourself to be discouraged by something like that. And that's what he compares our life to, that, look, I'm kind of facing an unknown group of people. I don't know who's out there, but I can guarantee you this, whoever is listening to this has gone through a lot. Because I don't think that it's possible to get through this world, whoever you are, no matter how much poverty or privilege you've grown up with. Even the most lucky person, so to speak, has gone through a lot. My wife likes to quote this phrase that I think is awesome, which is, the only people without problems that you know are the people you don't know very well, right? Because everyone has them. And so the idea is, in order just to get to today, all of us, myself included, have overcome so many obstacles, so many problems. And we're like that soldier in the battlefield. And now whatever our present problem is, relatively speaking, compared to a lifetime of challenges that we've gone through, it's like a thin little strand. And just like we got through everything leading up to this moment, don't get discouraged by that either. Keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. It says in the Gemara, a very interesting teaching. It says, in the end of days, after the evil inclination is slaughtered, meaning to say that evil will disappear from this world. That is the Jewish story. That is the destiny of the world. There will be no more evil at some point in our history, God willing, today, right? And when that day comes, the Talmud teaches that the righteous are going to see the evil inclination like this massive, massive mountain. And they're going to start crying, looking up at this massive mountain. And they're going to say, how did we ever overcome that challenge? How did we ever climb that? And the wicked, what the Yetzer Hara, what the other side, wickedness, whatever it is, the way it's going to manifest to them is as a single hair on the ground. And they're also going to break out crying. And they're going to say, how is it possible we didn't just step over that? So until Mashiach comes, until this Zman HaTikkun, right? We have the Tikkun HaKlali, but we also have the time when everything will have been fixed. Because again, that's the destiny of the world. And that's when God said about to create the world, that's the period of history that God had in mind at the very outset of creation. Before he even started creating the world, God had in mind a world with no war, with no hunger, with no hatred, just peace, with no obstacles to connecting and serving him, seeing his oneness in everything. And we're going to get to that place, right? But until that moment, there are going to be obstacles. And what a lot of people think, and it's unfortunate because it's a mistake, is that if I hold by a certain level of righteousness, if I do enough mitzvahs, right? If I just kind of connect to God and Torah just enough, the obstacles will stop. And it's not true. The obstacles don't stop until the entire world is fixed. And you say, well, that's not fair, right? Like, where's my rest? Well, let me give you this example, and hopefully, to me, this is a super clear example. When you hear this, you'll go, oh, okay, I kind of get it now. Imagine you go to the gym on a regular basis. And imagine, just making up numbers here, imagine you're curling, with a set of weights that are 100 pounds. And imagine that it took you a while to work up to that period where you were able to actually do 100 pounds. And that was like a big goal for you, right? You were working on it for a while. And then that day comes, it's a great day. You go to the gym and you're actually able to meet your goal. Wow, I did it, 100 pounds. Wow, I did it. The next time you go to the gym, are you going to do 90 pounds? No one is going to do 90 pounds at that point. You're going to do 105 pounds, right? 110 pounds or something like that. And that's the way it is with us and God. So the Kutzker Rebbe, by the way, a lot of people don't know the Kutzker Rebbe was a great student of Rabbi Nachman of Breslov. They didn't learn personally together, but the Kutzker Rebbe loved Rabbi Nachman, which is, really super cool. So the Kutzker Rebbe teaches the following. He says that if we're always getting these challenges. And why, by the way? Because all of us have a piece of God inside of us, like this concentrated light inside of us. That's our soul, by the way. And when we overcome a challenge, we take some of that light, this amazing condensed ball of like awesomeness, right? Because it's an aspect of God. And we shine it into the world. And so the more we overcome challenges, the more light that's inside of us gets put out into the world. And all of us are just lighting up the world together, more and more and more light until the time of fixing, right? So the Kutzker Rebbe says, if you pass a test, do you know what the heavenly response is? You ready for this? You get a bigger test. That's like you did it. You did 100 pounds. Okay, mazel tov. Now you're ready for 105 pounds. Like God looks at you at that point and says, wow, that's awesome. You did that. Okay, now I see that you're capable of a certain higher level of responsibility. Like I'm looking to you. I'm going to give you a little bit more responsibility to shine even more light into the world. Do you see how that's To me, that makes utter sense. But do you see how that's so different from how most people go through life? Most people go through life and they go, well, wait a second, I just did this great thing. Why can't everything be easy now? But our job is this whole world essentially is a work session. It's a work session until we complete creation. See, one of the big secrets, I think, that is not very well known, and I believe you don't understand what I'm about to tell you right now. You can't understand this world, and you can't understand your own life. And let me put it this way. Everybody's got the same question, which is, if there's a God in the world, why is the world so messed up? And the Torah has a phenomenal answer for this question. It's everybody's question. Here's the answer. You ready? It's because this world isn't finished yet. It's not finished yet. See, everyone makes the mistake of thinking that the Garden of Eden was a perfect place, like this cosmic spa, and we messed up, right? We ate from the tree of knowledge, we messed up, we listened to the snake, and now all of human history is just a process of getting back to zero. That's not the story that we're in right now. That's not the story of your life. That's not the story of this world. This world was created unfinished. And that's why God made you and me, to be partners with him to finish the world. That's the idea. So this world actually is a work session. It really is. It doesn't mean that this world isn't filled with delights. It's absolutely awesomely filled with delights. Believe it or not, it says in the Talmud, the Jerusalem edition, the Talmud Yerushalmi, it says that if there's some fruit in the world, some delicious fruit, and you didn't taste it, at the end of our lives, at the end of 120, we're going to actually be accountable for the fact that there was this delicious fruit to eat and that we didn't have that moment to experience God's goodness in this world and how much God delights in us in this world. So this world is filled with pleasure, it's filled with delights and everything like that. But at the same time, let's not lose sight of the fact that it's a work session, that there's something to be done. We're here to actually accomplish something. And that mission statement, I think, is so important because so many Jews think, like, if you were to go up to most Jews and say, why are you Jewish? Most people would say, I think, well, my mom was Jewish, and when I was born, it's kind of like tag, you're it, and well, now I'm Jewish, what can I do? And they see Judaism as this idea of like sort of like tugging the past into the present, tugging, and that's my job, right? But if you were to ask Abraham and Sarah, right, the first Jews, like, why are you Jewish? Well, they were the first Jews, so their parents weren't Jewish. So they can't tell you I'm Jewish because my parents are Jewish. And they're the first Jews. So I want to know what they knew about Judaism because that's where it's starting, right? So instead of being backward looking, they were forward looking. So there's like a very important foundational thought about what Judaism is and what it means to be Jewish and why we're Jewish, because it's forward looking. Okay, so now how do we complete reality, right? How do we get to that point that God envisioned? Okay, so we take the best from the past, right? We've got this incredibly rich tradition, and it's filled with wisdom. It's filled with prophecy. It's filled with, just what we understand to be the will of God. And God did something absolutely incredible. He put all these encapsulated forms of infinity, and he hid them within the mundane. Can you imagine, like, the idea of eating matzah on Pesach, right? That's like this infinite thing, or shaking a lulav in an esrog on Sukkot. That's this encapsulated bit of infinity that he puts inside all of the mitzvahs. and the light from the mitzvahs, and that infinite light kind of like shoots out into this world, and ultimately it's going to transform the finite that's around us into the infinite. And all the world is going to expand and evolve. We believe as Jews, as Torah Jews, we believe in evolution more than Darwin. Because what did Darwin believe? Darwin believed that we all start from this single cell, right? And then we evolved into these complex creatures that we are right now. But I have a question for Darwin, I guess, which is, where did that single cell come from? And where did the fabric of time and space come from to hold that cell? Right? And then going all the way back to like the Big Bang Theory. Okay, so we've got this idea, which is a Torah idea, by the way, which is that there was this like little tiny microscopic bit of matter, and then it just blossomed out and became the material universe around us, right? But where did that little speck come from? And where did the fabric of reality to support that little speck come from, right? So the answer is God. The answer is God. And we believe that mankind and this world is still evolving, right? Many people say, and it's a very deep idea, that the largest distance in the universe, the greatest distance, is between the head, the mind, the intellect, and the heart, right? That little gap right here is like thousands of dimensions wide. But we're going to get to that place, right, where they're connected again. That time is coming. We're evolving. Mankind is evolving toward a place where there won't be any separation between the mind and the heart. We actually believe, a lot of people are familiar with the idea of the Jewish ritual of circumcision, a Brit Milah, right? Like on the 8th day, a boy has a little piece of skin cut from him. But believe it or not, this idea of the Brit, right, of the circumcision, is actually an everyday occurrence. And it applies to men and women. And I'll explain to you what I mean by that. Because according to the Torah, all of us have this encasement around our hearts. All of us, this layer of skin or whatever it is, we have it around our hearts, which blocks us from fully appreciating each other, fully having full gratitude and awareness of God around us. It blocks our mind and our heart from coming together completely. And we believe that we're evolving to a place where that encasement is going to be removed. And the fact is that we ourselves can remove it by, not through surgery, it's not an operational thing. We do it by expanding our consciousness, by learning Torah, by loving each other, by living lives of enlightenment. And then we can get rid of that layer, right? So that's going to be the evolution of the human being. And then our perception is going to be so expansive when that happens. And that the nature of reality itself is also going to transform, right? In the way that we spoke about. So one of the greatest rabbis of the last 100 years, not so long ago, he was alive during the 1970s, I think maybe even into the 80s, I'm not sure. His name was Rav Moshe Feinstein. And he was kind of one of the great deciders of Jewish law in the world for his generation. Now, this story is, I think, representative of everything we've been talking about, and it's very meaningful to me. He was in Russia, and he was married in Russia, and this was during the reign of the despotic communists who outlawed religion. So, you were You were religious, you were risking your life to be Jewish and openly Jewish. And he was such a great man and such a genius. Like one of the rabbis I learned with said that he had the brain the size of a planet, a great bit of imagery, right? So Rav Moshe, as he's known, he was younger at this point. I don't know how old exactly. Maybe he was in his 20s or 30s, something like that. He was leaving. He was able to get out of the Soviet Union. And he had in one of his suitcases all of the original writings on Torah that he had done. So you have basically one of the greatest people in the world and all of his original Torah thinking, right? Like his life's work in many ways. And at the border, they confiscated it and they destroyed it. Now, if I were him, and I think a lot of us would fall into this category, I think I would really wonder, is that God telling me that he's just not interested in me or what I have to offer at all? I mean, clearly, if anything should be worthy of a miracle or worthy of getting some slack cut from me, it would be these holy pages being able to get through, whatever customs or border check, right? But the reason why I love that story so much is that there isn't really a happy ending. He doesn't get them back. They don't get restored. They were destroyed. But he didn't stop. And he didn't give himself the luxury of quitting, because quitting is a luxury. It actually is a luxury. We can't quit. We're not allowed to quit. And he rededicated himself. And even though he was a very promising, very prominent person, he wasn't the greatest in the world. But you know what? He became the greatest in the world because he didn't stop. And he committed himself to the fact that we believe with all of our hearts that God is good. And whatever challenge that God puts in front of us, it's only so that we can attach ourselves to God in a pure, deeper way, that we can emit even more light into the world and transform the world into a more beautiful place. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share some words. I do a weekly podcast, actually. It's called Spiritual Tools for an Outrageous World. That's the name of it. You can Google that. My name is David Sachs. You can look that up, and we do online learning, and it's on lots Spotify, Apple, podcasts, all sorts of places. So anyway, hopefully we'll get a chance to learn together sometime. And I travel around. If you ever want to have me in your city or whatever it is, would love to share Shabbos with you. So thanks again so much. And thank you, Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, for being such a shining light for all the generations until Mashiach comes.